Please welcome to the stage, Teneille Ringer.
Okay. Hello? My goodness, I can barely see you people. Hi, my name is Teneille. I've got questions since being here. How did you get your name? And a lot of people think Captain in Teneille, but it actually was a Blockbuster worker. So maybe she was named after Captain in Teneille. I don't know. But I think she now works at Seagull Book, and hopefully she's successful. But my name is Teneille Ringer. And my presentation is on how to be authentic in an artificial world. So a little bit about me. I love it when presenters are authentic with their audience and talk a little bit about who they are. So I'm a mom to a crazy 2, almost 3-year-old little boy named Griffey, and he is so much fun, keeps us on our toes at all times. I also taught 2nd grade for a few years before moving into the role of innovative learning coach for Alpine School District. So whenever I go into a classroom, I always introduce myself as, you can call me Mrs. Ringer, or you can call me the cool tech girl. And I will say, there's nothing more rewarding than walking down the hall in one of my school buildings and hearing a student yell, "Hey, cool tech girl," because it's just like cool, and I feel like I'm one of them. So I love being called cool tech girl in my buildings as well. Here are some things that I do at work. Like I mentioned, my favorite thing to do is get into classrooms because I miss the student connection that I would get when I was a classroom teacher. In this picture, we had a 2nd grade class do a School AI Book Explorer space on the Smart Cookie. And they did fantastic. They loved it. And that was like one of my first interactions with AI with kids this past fall. And so it has been so fun to see that come and develop. I also give school-wide PDs. This picture up here in the top left is of me giving a school AI PD. So really embracing the AI in our field. We have a huge initiative in in the district that I'm in. It's called Learning Powered Classroom, and it's basically, we give teachers iPads and Apple Pencils and Apple TVs, and we work with them to make them feel confident in their use of being mobile in their instruction, so they can have their iPad take pictures of students' work as they are roaming about, and that's one of my main focuses, is making sure teachers feel confident in their use with their iPad. And then they get a really cool certificate, principal recognition, and a really cute jacket, so there's some nice swag that comes along with that. I also have an incredible team who we learn together, and we do amazing things. We work a lot behind the scenes to make sure our programs run smoothly for our teachers and students. Here's a picture of us elementary folk at the iReady conference a couple years ago, and we get to learn from each other, and it really is such a great place to be. Home life, this is kind of me. I am married to a person, and we have a child. His name's Griffey, like I mentioned, and he was named after Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. I promised my husband I would say that. I'm married into a family of baseball. They absolutely worship it. We love it. I have grown to love it. And anyway, baseball, we live and breathe it. And so we love going to Bees games in the summer. It's like one of our favorite things to do. My little boy has become quite a little baseball player himself. And one of my hidden talents is I feel like I'm pretty good at golf. But if you are looking at that and you are a good golfer and you're saying, ooh, I don't think she should say that, just keep it to yourself. But I feel like it's one of my greatest, like a fun little hidden talent I have is I took golf lessons in high school, and I really enjoy golf when I do it once a year. But in the wintertime, we don't do anything except roll down the hill at our local park because we don't really love the wintertime. Okay, getting into the presentation, first we're gonna talk about what it means to be authentic, and we're gonna examine our sense of self. Next, we're gonna talk about why it's so hard to stay authentic in this artificial world, and then we're gonna move on to some tips on how to be more authentic and how to stay authentic. Lastly, we'll have a conclusion and wrap up. So I want to ask you, when was the last time that you posted a picture on social media that was 100% real, not posed, no edits, no filters, nothing. It was 100% authentic. And don't tell me it was your Be Real, because I can't tell you how many times where Be Real has gone off. And for those older folk, perhaps, I don't know, who don't know what Be Real is, it's an app that you can download, and it once a day at a random time throughout the day, Be Real will go off, and you have 2 minutes to capture a picture. It takes a picture from your front camera and your back camera, and it's supposed to like make you look real, right? Make you look authentic. However, I can't tell you how many times when Be Real has gone off and I'm doing something lame or not like super exciting, where I'm like, oh, but I'm gonna go do something really cool later this afternoon. I'm gonna wait to take my Be Real. And it's interesting how an app that is designed to try to make you be more authentic, we're seeing artificial sides of it. So I wanna ask this question to you. What does the word authentic mean to you? Take a minute to think. When you hear the word authentic, what does it mean? Well, according to the dictionary, authentic means not false or imitation, real, actual, true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. The word that's standing out to me in this definition is the word imitation. That means no lookalikes, no copies, nobody else but you. There's only one you. There's no imitation of it. Like I mentioned, I have a toddler that rules my house, and so Disney Plus is on all the time. We have watched Inside Out 2 more times than I can count, and we haven't even seen Inside Out 1, but we have really grown to love Inside Out 2. And it follows this girl named Riley, and she's a hockey player, and in Inside Out 2, she becomes a teenager, and it kind of talks about like all the emotions that come along with, figuring out who you are. When we're authentic, we need to be true to ourselves. And in order to be true to yourself, you need to know who you are. So a lot of the movie is shot in Inside Out 2 from the inside of this little girl's brain. We have emotions such as joy that are helping her make decisions. We've got fear, envy, anger, disgust, anxiety, embarrassment, sadness, and ennui, which is boredom. And all of these emotions come together to help her be the person that she is. So we're gonna actually watch a little clip from the movie. And I want you, as we're watching this, I want you to look at and think about her sense of self. Riley, the main character's, how does she know who she is?
Way down at the root level, these memories were also creating beliefs.
Homework should be illegal. Get Up and Glow is the best band ever.
And my personal favorite?
I'm a really good friend.
Did you know the change in your couch could change the world?
Oh no, we should do something.
No.
That girl is a social Titanic. Do not get on that ship.
Guys?
It's okay. I drop things all the time. I'm Riley. I'm Grace.
I'm Bree. Turns out when you put all of those beliefs together, they make the most wonderful thing of all. Her sense of self.
I'm a good person.
It's what helps Riley make good choices. 13 years of hard work, all wrapped up in what some might call our masterpiece.
Okay, so in that video, we have this little flower looking beam of light. This is Riley's sense of self. Now I wanna ask you, what is your sense of self? Can you confidently say that you know exactly who you are, you know your beliefs, you know your sense of self? In order to be authentic, we need to know who we are so that we can portray that everywhere we go. In order to create your own sense of self, you need to actively curate the memories and beliefs that shape your perception, acknowledging both positive and negative experiences and allowing all emotions to play a role in building a holistic view of who you are. What really stands out to me in this is the both positive and negative experiences, because we need both. Both positive and negative experiences happen every single day in our lives. If we include all of those things to help us build our sense of self, then we will know how to be more authentic. So can you think of a memory that has shaped your sense of self? Just like in the video, Riley had several memories that came to her when they were looking at that sense of self, like when that girl spilled all those coins and she helped pick them up. She knew then that she was a good friend. There were other memories that came together to build who she was. Let me help you out here. Think of it like this. Think of it like as an I am statement. I am this way because of this. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be positive or negative, and it doesn't have to be just one memory. But why are you a certain way? If you are, I am kind, why are you that way? What belief do you have about that? Let me give you some examples. Picture this. A week before school started, I had all of my second graders back to school night treats on their desk. Their name tags were ready. The classroom was put together. A week before school started, accepted this position as an innovative learning coach. And I remember and it was something I've always wanted to do. I mean, I put my own ILC on such a high pedestal. Like, they were such cool people, and I think we still are, but they were really, really cool, and they did such great work, and I wanted to be a part of that. It's a week before school started. When I called my principal to tell him that he's gonna have to hire a teacher 1 week before school started, that was on a Wednesday. Back to school night was on the following Monday. All I could say to him was, I'm so sorry. Luckily, he was really, kind and was excited for me to be moving on my career path, but it was a hard time in my life. I was thrown kind of a little bit into the deep end. I, didn't have a lot of training, and I was kind of thrown into what some might say the busiest time of the school year is right at the beginning when we're working on getting teacher and student and accounts all set up and programs running smoothly, making sure kids can log in. It was a really, really hard time. And this picture shows it was my first day on the job, my little boy's first day at daycare. It was a really hard time. I knew that I was adaptive because I was able to successfully, hopefully I have some teachers here that may disagree, but I was able to get the job done. I was able to be adaptive. Another memory that's coming to my mind is I feel like I always look on the bright side. A month ago in a day, I was in a car accident on my way to work. This was the remains of my car. If you can tell, the front end's a little smushed, and anyway, couldn't open my trunk, so I think the frame was bent, I don't know. A car ran a red light, hit me. Anyway, while I was sitting in my car waiting for firemen to come help me get out, all I could think about was, wow, I am so grateful Griffey wasn't in the car. Wow, I am so grateful that I do not have any broken bones, that I'm here, that all is well. I always try to look on the bright side. However, I will say this part of me is both a blessing and a curse, because when things like this happen, which I've only been in 2 car accidents, and I hope I'm not in many more, when things like this happen, a tragic or a scary event, it's really hard for me to move on because I can't sit in this feeling of like, wow, this sucks. I'm like, no, but look about this. Like, it could have been so much worse. This is a part of my sense of self that I love, but it's also a really hard part of my sense of self. Another one is I'm very spontaneous and fun, and I was a little nervous putting this in because I didn't want people to be like, oh yeah, cool. But I feel like it's such a big part of who I am. Like I mentioned, I have married into a family that loves baseball, and so the Colorado Rockies are just, the team. And when Charlie Blackmon for the Rockies announced he was retiring last season, within a couple hours, I got on and bought tickets to his second to last game, not thinking further ahead. Just like, oh, that'd be so cool. Like, how expensive can Denver be? It's just like up the road. Well, it turns out it's pretty expensive, and flights and hotels were way out of our budget, and so I ended up selling those tickets, but I did make $12 on my sale from SeatGeek, and my tax appointment's in a couple of weeks, and I haven't received anything from SeatGeek, like a 1099 form, I think. So I don't even know if I'll report it, because at this point, it's their fault. But that is a memory that's very spontaneous. That's definitely who I am. Another memory that I have is after successfully completing the first 2 weeks of school, we decided to take Griffey to Ruth's Chris. Now, we've only ever been there, for an anniversary or birthday, so like once or twice a year. It's crazy expensive, so why are you gonna take a child? Well, who cares, let's do it. So they pull out the kids menu, because we knew that they had one, because we had seen other kids there when we had been, and there was a hamburger on there. We're like, yeah, sure, like he likes hamburgers. And it was no less than $30. It was this 100% beef Wagyu hamburger, right? We had to cook medium well because pink and kids, they don't like. He ate about a half a French fry, and that was it. And we were like, nice. So we just spent $30 on a half a French fry at a very expensive restaurant, but it was really, really fun because the whole experience was it's a lot of fun. That's some of my memories that helped shape who I am, helped shape my own sense of self. So now that we talked a little bit about our sense of self and what it means to be authentic, why is it so hard to stay authentic? Well, we live in this artificial world where perfection is so sought after, where we've got supposed fake news, where we have Instagram, where we have all these social medias where you look at something and you're like, how is that realistic? I come across things of posts that people post that's like, here's what my toddler eats in a day, and it's like a full-blown chicken, like asparagus head, like the craziest thing. I'm like, how? How is that real? And I also think that we see this a lot in our jobs. What do we do when we come across things that we see and we kind of are like, what in the world? We start to compare. The problem with the comparison game is that sadly, as if normal comparison isn't bad enough, most comparison on social media is compared to a fake reality. When we start to compare, we start to lose sight of who we are. We start to lose the big picture. We see this in our workplace all the time with something that I like to call the perfect teacher myth. Have you ever seen a schedule in Roy G. Biv? That's rainbow for some people who may not know. Or have seen those boho chic chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Or have seen a perfectly cute rug and a painted wall in a teacher's classroom. Maybe on back to school night you do. Or maybe the first week of school, teachers have these beautiful classrooms. This isn't realistic, because as soon as those kids come in from recess or, PE, there's gonna be mud on that rug. And I'm pretty sure when the fire marshal walks through that school and they see those boho chic chandeliers, they need to come down. That's against fire code. And that rainbow schedule, it's not sustainable. But maybe for you it is, and that's great, and that's amazing. But for the most of us, it's not really about how our classroom looks. Of course, we need to have learning environments for our kids to learn, but it doesn't need to be perfect. I have a principal who I work for that I really love and admire, and I like to use the word perfect and master kind of interchangeably in this quote from him. He says, a master teacher is not one who has taught for 15 plus years. A master teacher is a teacher who is willing to learn and try out new things and adapt to student needs, because that's really all that matters. It's the kids. It's not about how cute your classroom looks, or it's not about how cute, their student artwork looks like. It's about them learning and them being able to adapt to how each kid needs to learn. Another reason why it's so hard to be authentic is this concept of the wearing of masks. Do you ever feel like when you're giving a presentation or when you're talking to somebody that you have to put on a mask because you're nervous to portray who you really are? Well, in 1162, in the city of Venice, they threw this huge carnival to celebrate this military victory that they had won. And everybody wore masks. And the whole point was that the poor and the rich could be equal. All of their identity was hidden. They wore these masks. Well, the problem with this is as the carnival would go on, people would take advantage of their identity being hidden. They would be thieves, they would steal, they would do really bad things because they're like, they don't know who I am. But it's interesting because even though they had a mask on, their true sense of self came through. Because even if you have a mask on and you're doing those things, that was in your sense of self, always. And it's funny, they actually had to shut down the carnival because of this horrible stuff that was happening. And in 1979, they actually reopened it to celebrate culture and bring tourism to the city, and it's going on right now. So, started on Valentine's Day and ends a day before Mardi Gras. So if you are sick of this weather, not sure what the weather in Venice is like, But get yourself a mask and head on over to Celebrate Culture. We all wear masks, and the time comes when we cannot remove them without removing some of our own skin. In a world that rewards flawless masks, it's hard to separate our identity from what we pretend. The masks we wear might seem authentic, but they're just a disguise. So think about that and reflect on the mask that you may wear. Do you feel like you have to hide your identity? Why? When you feel like you're wearing a mask to do something, why can't you be authentic in that situation? Just some reflection, things to think about. All right, now that we've talked about what it means to be authentic, why it's so hard to be authentic, let's talk about a little bit about some tips on how to be authentic and stay authentic, because it's not about what you do, but how you do it. Number one, be yourself. And you're probably like, oh, like we've heard that 1,000 times, but it really is true. And you're probably questioning yourself why I have JonBenet Ramsey up there. Well, I'm a little bit of a crime junkie, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And I love learning about true crime. I also am a little bit of a history nut, but really not really, just kind of about the Titanic, really. I love learning about the Titanic. It's like just amazing. When the Netflix documentary came out about the Space Shuttle Challenger, I was so inspired by it. I watched it no less than 12 times. The next school year, changed my entire classroom theme to space. Because I was like, this is amazing, it is so cool, and I just was engulfed with it. Being yourself is not about standing out or being different from others. Being authentic is following your path, not comparing to others. When you try to be different, you disconnect from what you want. Being able to be confident when you walk into a room, knowing who you are, that's gonna help you be more authentic. A second way that we can be more authentic is to be self-aware. I asked ChatGPT, how do you know how to answer my questions? And it said that it uses pattern recognition. One of the ways that it knows how to answer is it uses pattern recognition, and it compares like questions that have already been asked to the question that I'm asking, and then it will compare the answers that have been given and how those have been perceived. So this pattern recognition is seen in AI all the time. But think about it in your own personal self. Pattern recognition, what kind of patterns do you see? Maybe when something bad happens, you always react a certain way. Or maybe when something good happens, you always do this. What are some patterns that you're noticing in your life? Because in order to be authentic, we need to not only be ourselves, but we need to be self-aware, because some of the patterns that we may have may not be what we want to portray when we're being authentic. Back to the masks. Recognizing the masks you wear. However, most masks can be avoided, like faking who you are on social media. When you're under pressure, how do you react? Reflect each day on the masks you wear and why. But most importantly, don't confuse the mask with who you are. Don't let the characters you play take over your identity. Again, just knowing and being self-aware of when you are wearing a mask and why. Why are you not allowing yourself to be authentic? What is the reason behind that? And maybe it's just something super simple, but how can we be more intentional and more authentic in the interactions that we have? Number 4, embrace vulnerability. Recognize your mistakes and don't take life too seriously. There has been so many times, January for me was a really hard month, and it seemed like everything was going wrong. And there was a time where it just came where you just had to laugh about it, because you're like, holy cow, universe, move on to someone else. Being able to embrace your vulnerability and being able to laugh at yourself, laugh at things that happen that, may not be the best things that could have happened, will really help you be more authentic and really help you know who you truly are. Because authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's all about embracing who you are and being confident in your own skin. All right, last one. Give yourself permission to change, because our careers might change, our interests, our hobbies, they all might change. So allowing yourself to also change, because your identity might change because of those big things. Maybe your beliefs are changing. All of those will impact our sense of self, which will in turn impact how we can be more authentic and how our authenticity will be perceived in interactions that we have. You are your choices, your personal decisions shape who you are. I feel like my mama used to always say that, you're your choices, So picture that for you. All right, conclusion and wrap up. One thing that my boss always does that Shout out Darren Draper. One thing that my boss always does at the end of our like coaching academy or professional development days is he starts from the beginning, like what happened at the beginning of the day, what happened in the middle of the day, and what happened at the end, just to kind of like give our brains like a good like, oh yeah, like that did happen. So first we talked about what it meant to be authentic. We examined our sense of self. We talked a little bit about inside out too, and we talked about how all those emotions come together to play a role in who we are. We then talked about why it's so hard to be authentic, the mask wearing, the need for perfection, the perfect teacher myth, how that is portrayed on social media in this artificial world, and how it's so hard to be authentic in today's world. But then we ended by talking about some helpful tips on how to stay authentic and how we can be more authentic in our interactions. So, as I leave here today with you, I want to give you the challenge to be the voice and not the echo. Choose honesty over approval, connection over perfection, and impact over image, because truly in this artificial world, the only way that we can be authentic is to be yourself, to be who you are, be confident in who you are, know your sense of self, know the impact that you can have. And thank you for coming to my session. Hmm.